In the deep kingdom of Lumeria, the sea itself chose its queens. But on the night of betrayal, a sister's greed silenced the ocean, and the true heir of the mermaids was hidden among humans. 16 years later, the sea is restless, and it is ready to reveal the lie. The kingdom of Lumeria lay hidden beneath shimmering waves, where coral towers rose like cathedrals and glowing fish lit the streets. It was a kingdom unlike any other, ruled not by swords or armies, but by the sea itself. For centuries, Lumeria's throne had belonged to women, chosen by the sacred pearl, a glowing jewel said to be carved from the heart of the ocean. It was not just a crown, it was a living force. The pearl did not bend to bloodlines or ambition. It chose only those the sea trusted. Without it, no queen could truly rule. The last to be chosen was Queen Naela Tideborn. When she spoke, waves bent low. When she sang, storms calmed. The people loved her, but more than that, the sea loved her. And when news spread that she was expecting a child, the whole kingdom celebrated. "May the heir be born under the twin moons," the priestesses cried. "May the pearl glow for another generation," the merfolk cheered. But not everyone rejoiced. Among those who knelt before her throne was Siraya, Naela's younger sister. To the people, Siraya was loyal, graceful, always smiling at her queen. But inside, envy burned like fire. She had dreamed of the throne since girlhood. She studied the histories, memorized the rituals, trained her voice to command currents, all for nothing. The pearl had chosen Naela, not her. Now, if Naela bore a daughter, the crown would slip further from Siraya's reach forever. "No," she thought bitterly, "I will not be forgotten. Not when the sea should have been mine." The night of Naela's labor arrived. The palace shook as thunder cracked above the waters. Midwives swam through the halls with jars of moonlight, chanting the birthing songs that had echoed through centuries. The people gathered outside the palace walls, pressing their hands together, waiting. At last, a newborn cry pierced the sea. A girl, the sacred pearl resting in its shrine, blazed with light so fierce the entire ocean floor glowed. The people gasped and fell to their knees. The prophecy had been fulfilled, a daughter born under the twin moons. But in the shadows of the hall, Siraya's heart hardened. Later that night, as Queen Naela lay weak but smiling beside her child, Siraya entered with a chalice of crimson sea fruit wine. "Sister," she said warmly,
"You have given us hope. Drink, so you may regain your strength."
Naela, exhausted, lifted the cup. She trusted her sister. She had always trusted her. The liquid slid down her throat smoothly, sweetly. But the sweetness was laced with death. A poison made from reef root, harvested only in the darkest trenches, where no light dared to swim. It left no trace, only silence. Within moments, Naela's breath slowed. Her fingers trembled, reaching weakly for her sister.
"See, Rai, why?"
Siraya leaned close, whispering so only Naela could hear.
"Because the sea should have been mine."
The queen's eyes widened with betrayal. Then they closed forever. By dawn, the palace declared that Queen Naela had died of exhaustion. The people wailed, but the sea gave no sign of mourning. No tide bent, no fish sang. The waters were still, eerily still. Siraya wasted no time. She turned to the midwife who had delivered the princess.
The child cannot remain here,
she hissed.
If the people learn she lives, my throne is lost. Take her to the surface. Leave her among the humans. She must vanish from Lumeria forever.
The midwife trembled. My queen! She is Naela's daughter. She carries the blood of the tide. I said vanish. Siraya's eyes burned. If you defy me, you will not live to regret it. So under the cover of night, the midwife swam upward, carrying the crying infant. When she reached the shore of a small fishing village, she laid the baby on the sand wrapped in seaweed silk. But before her eyes, the child shimmered, her tiny tail dissolving into silver foam, splitting into two soft legs. The ocean had disguised her as human, hiding her true blood. The midwife gasped, realizing the sea itself was protecting its heir. She kissed her forehead, whispering, "Forgive me, princess. The sea will find you again." Then she slipped back into the waves, tears mixing with salt water. By morning, Siraya stood before the people of Lumeria, her face wet with false grief.
My beloved sister is gone. The sea has not blessed us with her life, nor with an heir. But Lumeria cannot fall into chaos. Until the ocean itself rejects me, I will bear the weight of the crown.
The priestesses bowed reluctantly. The crowd obeyed. But when Siraya placed the sacred pearl upon her brow, it flickered dimly. It did not glow for her. The sea had not chosen her. But Siraya ignored the silence. She smiled and let the lie take root. And thus, by poison and deceit, she stole both the pearl and the throne. On the shore where the infant had been left, dawn broke gently. An old fisherman named Bako and his wife Sade discovered her. They had prayed for years for a child, but had none. When they saw the baby swaddled in silk, her tiny fists clenched tight, they gasped. "A gift from the sea," Sade whispered, lifting her into her arms. "Bako, she's ours." They named her Liora. Liora grew up in their small village, surrounded by laughter, nets, and the scent of salted fish. She loved her parents dearly, but she was not like other children. She could stay underwater for minutes without gasping. Fish circled her hands as if answering her unspoken call. When storms brewed, she felt them before the clouds appeared. Once, she swam so deep that she returned with a pearl clutched in her palm, though no diver had ever reached that depth. The villagers whispered behind her back, "She is not ordinary. Perhaps a spirit child, perhaps cursed." But Bako and Sade silenced them. "She's our daughter," they said firmly, "and she belongs here." Still, Liora noticed the way people looked at her. She learned to hide her strange gifts, though sometimes they betrayed her. Once, during a festival, her legs shimmered faintly, as though scales rippled beneath her skin. She quickly wrapped herself in cloth, pretending nothing had happened. At night, she dreamt of places she had never seen. Glowing coral palaces, a throne of seashells, and a pearl that whispered her name. Sometimes she saw a woman with kind eyes reaching for her, but the woman's face always dissolved into water.
Why do I dream of the sea like this?
She once asked her mother. Sade only smiled sadly and stroked her hair.
Because you were born with salt in your blood. Some children belong to the land. You, my Liora, belong to both.
Meanwhile, beneath the waves, Queen Siraya's reign was rotting. Though she wore the crown, the sacred pearl refused her. It sat dull in its shrine, flickering only faintly, never blazing as it once had. The currents no longer obeyed her song. Fishermen brought back empty nets. Crops in the seabed fields withered. The high priestess, an old mer-woman with eyes like storm clouds, warned her. The sea is restless. It knows. Siraya silenced her. The sea obeys whoever wears the crown, but she was wrong. The ocean obeyed truth, not lies. And truth cannot stay buried forever. One stormy evening, when Liora was 16, she wandered to the cliffs after helping her father mend his nets. The sky was heavy, the sea restless. She stood barefoot, staring at the waves. The ocean roared louder, pulling at her with invisible hands. And deep within her, something stirred. The storm that evening raged with a violence the village had not seen in years. Wind whipped across the shore, tearing at the thatched huts. Fishermen ran to tie their boats before the waves swallowed them. Children clung to their mothers as thunder cracked and lightning split the horizon in jagged veins. But Liora did not run for shelter. She stood at the edge of the cliffs, her hair plastered against her face, her heart pounding to the rhythm of the storm. It was as if the sea itself was calling her name. Liora, she spun around. The voice was soft, feminine, carried in the roar of the waves. But when she looked, there was no one there. Liora. Again, closer. The syllables curved like water against rock. Her breath quickened. She stepped forward, barefoot toes gripping the slick stone. The storm grew wilder, but she felt no fear, only a strange, fierce longing. Then, in a flash of lightning, she saw it. The sea itself was glowing. Beneath the churning waters, a faint light pulsed, like a heartbeat. She blinked, and the vision vanished, swallowed by waves. "What? What is happening to me?" she whispered. Her answer came not in words, but in pain. A sudden burning shot through her legs. She stumbled, clutching them as they shimmered. Scales flickered across her skin, glowing faintly before vanishing again. "No!" she gasped, wrapping her dress tightly around herself. "Not here. Not now." Behind her, voices shouted, "Liora! Liora! Get away from the cliff!" It was her father, Barco, fighting through the wind. But before he could reach her, a massive wave surged upward higher than any wave should climb. It crashed over the cliff, swallowing Liora whole. "Liora!" Barco screamed, but his voice was drowned by thunder. The sea dragged her down into its dark belly. She should have drowned. The weight of the water pressed against her chest. The current spun her violently. But instead of panic, she felt strength. Her lungs burned once, then eased. She inhaled and water filled her, yet she did not choke. Her legs twisted painfully. She screamed, but the scream became a song, a strange, haunting melody that vibrated through the ocean. In place of legs, a shimmering silver tail unfurled, scales glowing like starlight. She was no longer human. She was what she had always been, a mermaid. Liora gasped in wonder, staring at herself. The storm raged above, but beneath the waves, everything was alive. Schools of fish circled her in spirals, their eyes gleaming as though they recognized her. Glowing corals lit up where she passed. The water itself seemed to bow around her presence. Her heart raced. What am I? The answer came as visions, not dreams, but memories she had never lived. A palace of coral and pearl, a queen crowned with light, a baby swaddled in sea silk, carried away in tears, and a woman with cruel eyes, smiling as she placed a crown upon her head that did not glow for her. Siraya, the name burned in Liora's chest, though she had never heard it before. Then came a voice, clear as the tide.
Child of the sea, lost heir of Lumeria, it is time you awaken. The ocean remembers you. The pearl waits for you.
Liora clutched her chest, trembling. No, I'm just Liora. I'm just a fisherman's daughter. But the water roared back as if denying her words. The waves rose higher, lightning pierced the sky, and the very depths seemed to sing. She saw it again. The sacred pearl glowing in the dark, pulsing like a living heart. It called to her, pulling her deeper. Her tail flicked instinctively, and she dove into the abyss. Meanwhile, far beneath in the kingdom of Lumeria, Queen Siraya sat on her throne of coral, scowling at the dim light of the sacred pearl. It flickered weakly in its shrine, like a dying ember. The high priestess appeared before her, staff in hand.
The sea stirs, my queen. The pearl senses its true heir. The child you cast away has awakened.
Siraya's eyes widened, fury flashing across her face. Impossible! That child was left for the humans. She should have been nothing but bones by now. The sea does not forget, the priestess intoned.
The blood of Naela cannot be raised, and the pearl will never bow to a thief.
Siraya stood abruptly, her tail lashing with rage. Then I will find her before the pearl does. I will crush her, and no one will ever know she lived. Her voice echoed through the halls, cold and sharp. But deep down, for the first time in years, fear crept into her chest, because she knew the truth. If the sea had begun to awaken for Naela's daughter, her stolen crown was already slipping, and somewhere in the ocean above, the rightful queen was rising. The night after her transformation, Liora lay weak on the rocky shore. The storm had passed, leaving the sky littered with stars. Her dress clung to her, torn and soaked. She stared at her legs, trembling as she touched them. They were human again. Yet she could still feel the ghost of scales shimmering beneath her skin. Her father Bacco found her half-conscious. He lifted her gently, his arms shaking. "Child, I thought the sea had swallowed you," he whispered, pressing his forehead against hers. Liora wanted to tell him about the voice, the glowing tail, the visions. But when she opened her mouth, the words tangled like seaweed in her throat.
I don't know what happened.
She lied, but deep inside, she knew exactly what had happened. The sea had claimed her. That night, she dreamt of voices. Women singing in tones so sweet they made her chest ache. She saw shadows gliding through the deep mermaids, dozens of them, their eyes glowing. Some looked mournful, others looked hungry. When she woke, the voices hadn't left. Far below in the dark trenches, Siraya wasted no time. She gathered her most feared servants, the sea witches. Creatures neither fully mermaid nor human, twisted by forbidden magic. Their long hair flowed like ink in the water, their teeth sharp as knives. "You will find her," Siraya ordered, her crown glittering in the cold light. The lost princess walks among humans. The pearl already stirs for her. If she breathes a word of her birthright, my throne is finished. The witches bowed, their voices hissing like currents. "Yes, my queen, we will taste her blood before the sea can claim her." They vanished into the depths, their bodies melting into the dark waters. The next day, Liora returned to the cliffs. She couldn't help herself. Every wave, every crash of foam felt like it was speaking to her. She whispered to the sea, "Why me? What do you want from me?" The water didn't answer in words, but a shape appeared in the foam, the faint shimmer of a crown. Her breath caught. She blinked, and it was gone. Then she heard the singing again. This time, it wasn't in her mind. It came from the shore below. She crept down, heart pounding. At the water's edge stood 3 women beautiful, otherworldly, their hair flowing unnaturally even in the still air. They smiled at her with teeth just a little too sharp. "Child of the sea," one crooned. "We've been waiting," said another. "The queen sent us to guide you," the third added, her voice dripping with honey. Liora stepped back, unease prickling her skin. Who are you?" The women smiled wider. "Sisters, helpers, friends. Come closer, and we will show you who you truly are." But their eyes betrayed them, black and bottomless, hungry. Something in Liora screamed. She turned and ran. The witches lunged, their voices rising in a shriek that cracked the night. Their arms stretched unnaturally, fingers clawed. Liora sprinted up the rocks, but the ground was slick. Her foot slipped and she fell. Just as the witches closed in, the sea itself rose up a wall of water crashing down, knocking them backward. Gasping, Liora clutched the rock. The wave hadn't touched her. It had gone around her, as if protecting her. The witches hissed, retreating into the water, their eyes burning with rage. "This isn't over, little princess," one snarled before vanishing beneath the waves. Liora's heart thudded violently. "Princess?" Days passed, but Liora could not escape the truth gnawing at her. The witch's words haunted her. Princess, child of the sea. Every night, the sea called her. Every night, she dreamed of the glowing pearl. Finally, one night, she could not resist. She slipped away from her sleeping father and ran to the cliffs. The moon was full, its light spilling across the waves. She stepped into the surf, the water cool against her skin. Immediately, her legs shimmered. Scales rippled across her thighs. With a gasp, she fell forward, and where she had legs, a silver tail unfurled once more. This time, she didn't fight it. She dove deep, the water embracing her. Light glowed around her, guiding her downward. She followed, heart hammering. At the bottom of the sea, she found it a hidden cave, glowing with strange symbols. And at its center, the sacred pearl. It pulsed with light, brighter than she had ever seen in her visions. When she reached out, it leapt into her hands as though it had been waiting. The moment her fingers touched it, the ocean itself seemed to awaken. Currents swirled around her, fish scattered, the very water vibrated. The pearl's glow spread across her body, crowning her in light. In that instant, she knew. The visions weren't lies. The queen who had died was her mother. The throne stolen by Siraya was hers. Tears stung her eyes. "Mother," she whispered. But even as the truth filled her, shadows gathered at the mouth of the cave. The witches, they had followed her. "There she is," one hissed, eyes fixed on the pearl. "The true heir," another sneered. "Kill her, and the crown remains ours," the last snarled. They rushed toward her, claws bared. Liora clutched the pearl against her chest, fear and power surging inside her. The sea rumbled as though waiting for her command, and then a voice thundered through the cave, shaking the ocean floor. "Enough!" From the darkness emerged a figure draped in shadowy fins, her crown glinting. Queen Siraya herself. Her eyes burned with fury as she stared at Liora. "So? The sea has found you." Liora froze, her silver tail trembling. The witches bowed low. "My queen." Siraya ignored them, her gaze locked on Liora. A cruel smile spread across her lips. "You dare touch what is mine? Child, you should have stayed hidden. Now I will end you with my own hands." The water pulsed, the pearl shone brighter, and Liora's heart screamed in terror. The ocean itself seemed to hold its breath.